Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling something I think a lot of us struggle with, right? Work-life balance.
Mm-hmm. That constant pull.
Exactly. It's that feeling, like work just keeps spilling over into personal time, and it's just really hard to properly switch off.
Yeah. And that can lead to feeling, well, pretty overwhelmed, stressed out, anxious.
hmm
It really takes a toll. You feel like life's just kind of happening to you because of work.
So the mission for this deep dive is to explore how maybe a more structured way of managing tasks and even just your thoughts can lead to a routine that feels, well, more fulfilling.
And hopefully stop that feeling of life just slipping away because of job demands. We'll be looking at a few different ideas and sources around this.
Right. And one resource that comes up quite a bit when people talk about this is the Stallion Journal. It's not new. Many of you might know it already.
Yeah, it's known for its design, specifically aimed at helping with organization and building those mindful routines. We looked into why these journals seem to click for people trying to find that balance.
What's interesting is how some of the features, things you might not think much about, actually play a big role.
Like the numbered pages. 211 of them, I think.
Exactly. It's not just for page numbers. It kind of builds this sense of progress, and lets you easily flip back to earlier thoughts or plans.
And the paper quality, too, that thicker 120 GSM paper, it makes writing feel a bit more intentional, like a small ritual.
Totally. Plus the soft faux leather cover, it feels durable, like something you can actually use every day. It becomes this dedicated, organized space.
They come in different options, too, right? Soft cover, hard cover.
Yeah, and different colors. Ash gray black, cocoa brown, royal blue, even a proactive purple. It shows some thought went into the design.
But it's less about the look and more about how having that specific physical space can be, well, surprisingly effective for tackling those everyday work-life struggles.
Okay, so let's dig into why having a dedicated journal, maybe like a Stallion, is actually pretty essential here. It's easy to just see it as a notebook, right?
Just paper, yeah. But if you shift perspective, see it as a tool for organizing, for setting priorities, even for just like sorting out what's going on in your head.
Then it starts to look really powerful. You're taking all that mental clutter, all those swirling tasks and worries, and giving them a specific place. Order out of chaos, sort of.
And the act of journaling itself, we know it's good for time management and definitely for reducing stress. Features like those numbered pages and having a table of contents like in the Stallion journals.
Right, that really elevates it.
It turns it from just, random notes into something you can actually navigate. A log of your intentions, your progress, your insights. That's key.
You can see how it works in practice, like planning your week.
Instead of just a mental list that keeps changing.
You actually sit down, open the journal, and map out, okay, here are my work goals, and here are my personal things I want to do or need to do.
And then you can track how you're doing. Not just ticking boxes, but getting a real picture of where your time and energy are actually going across, all parts of your life.
It's not just about tasks, though, is it? It's also about reflecting on, your stress levels, how you're feeling.
That's crucial. Lots of sources emphasize this. Just noting down when you feel pressured or anxious, you start seeing patterns. What are the triggers?
And the flip side, like gratitude journaling, writing down things you're thankful for, that can seriously shift your mindset.
Absolutely. It builds resilience.
Yeah.
And this is where, you listening can really gain some self-awareness, those quick insights into your own habits, your emotional reactions.
I actually remember a friend, she was a marketing manager, constantly glued to her inbox. Like even in the evenings with her family, she was only half there, always glancing at her phone.
Oh, yeah. I know that feeling.
She started using a Stallion journal, just a few minutes each evening, wrote down what she got done at work, and then explicitly noted, okay, I'm switching off now.
Just writing it down.
Yeah. And gradually, she found she could actually be more present at home. And surprisingly, she felt less anxious about work stuff in the evenings, not more. The journal helped her create that boundary.
That's a great example. That structured reflection really making a difference.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about some common struggles people face. Burnout, feeling overloaded. Seems like everyone's dealing with that these days.
It's so prevalent. And the thing is, you often don't realize how bad it's getting until you're really deep in it, right?
Exactly. You just keep pushing. Journaling gives you that space to check in with yourself regularly. How's my energy? Am I sleeping okay? How's my mood? Generally,
Documenting it day by day.
lets you spot those early warning signs of stress building up before it becomes full-blown burnout.
Like a personal alarm system. I had a cousin, a software developer, crazy deadlines. Started getting these persistent headaches.
Oh, wow.
Thought it was just screen time, But when he started journaling about his days, just basic notes, he saw this clear pattern. Headaches always came after days where work was super intense. He skipped lunch, worked late.
Ah, the journal showed him the connection.
Yeah. It basically became his prompt to actually build in breaks, to not skip lunch. It forced him to see the impact.
That really highlights the self-awareness piece.
Okay, another big one. Setting boundaries. Or rather, the inability to set boundaries. That always-on feeling.
Ugh, yes. The expectation that you're available 24/7, it's draining.
Mm.
And this is where using a physical notebook, writing things down, it can be surprisingly powerful.
How so?
Well, actually writing down your rules, like no work emails after 7 p.m.
Right.
or Sundays are strictly family time, putting it in ink makes it feel more concrete,
Yeah,
real.
right. It's not just a vague intention floating around in your head.
And having a dedicated journal like the Listallion,
Yeah.
it becomes this like physical anchor for those boundaries. You wrote it there. It's in this book.
It reinforces the commitment every time you see it or use the journal, makes it tangible. I remember years ago, I really struggled with responding to work stuff late at night. Felt like I had to.
Yeah, that pressure.
So I started using a specific section in my journal, actually, was the Listallion back then too, just to define my office hours. And I'd make a quick note. And did I stick to it today? Yes, no. Why or why not?
Tracking it, seeing it in black and white, the patterns of when I broke my own rule, that really helped me stick to it more often and feel less guilty about not responding immediately.
The journal kind of holds you accountable to yourself. Okay, what about restlessness? Anxiety, that feeling that work is just dominating everything.
Yeah, that low-level hum of worry. Journaling's great for mindfulness here. Just taking 5 minutes to sit, focus on your thoughts, maybe write them down without judgment. It could be really grounding.
Getting it out of your head and onto the page.
Exactly. And things like gratitude practice, writing down what you're thankful for, actively shifts your focus away from the anxieties. And those numbered pages we mentioned. In Listallion, you can easily flip back. Okay, I felt anxious like this 2 months ago. What did I write then? What helped? You can track your triggers and what coping strategies actually worked for you.
Okay, so let's dive a bit deeper then. How specifically does journaling help establish those work-life boundaries? It's clearly more than just making lists.
Way more. It's about intentional design of your life, really. Creating that deliberate separation.
Not just reacting to whatever comes your way.
Precisely. When you take the time to write down your goals, work goals, sure, but also personal life goals, what you want your non-work time to look and feel like, you start drawing the lines. You define your expectations. You identify your non-negotiables for personal time and well-being.
And how does writing that down actually, manifest as a boundary in your day-to-day?
Well, first, it helps you visualize a schedule that actually includes both. You allocate time for work, yes, but also for family, exercise, hobbies, just relaxing. Having that structure makes it easier to say no to things that would infringe on that personal time.
Because you've already committed that time elsewhere on paper.
Right. It also shines a light on time-wasting habits. Maybe you realize you spent an hour scrolling social media right after work when you intended to go for a walk. Seeing that written down can prompt change.
And it boosts self-awareness, right? You start to recognize your own limits.
Definitely. You get better at sensing when you're nearing overload before you hit the wall. And that awareness is fundamental to protecting your boundaries proactively, not just after you've already burned out.
So, bringing it back to the Listallion features, how do things like numbered pages or the table of contents specifically help with this boundary setting process?
Okay, think about using the start of the journal, those first pages, for morning pages. You lay out your priorities for the day, not just work tasks, but also, I will stop work at 6 p.m. or I will take a full lunch break.
Setting the intention.
Exactly. Then maybe use later pages, numbered pages you can find easily for evening reflection. Did I stick to my 6 p.m. stop time? What made it easy or hard?
And the table of contents lets you track those reflections.
Yeah, you can have a section in your contents page like boundary reflections. So you can easily go back over weeks or months and see, okay, what strategies are actually working for me? Where do I keep stumbling? It makes the journal an active tool for managing and reinforcing those boundaries, not just a diary.
Right, it's not a passive thing. So, wrapping this up, it feels like journaling isn't some magic bullet, obviously, but it's a really powerful, consistent practice.
It is. It cultivates that self-awareness, helps you get organized, and crucially, brings intentionality to how you navigate that work-personal life intersection.
Especially with a well-designed tool like the Listallion we've talked about, it really provides clarity in what can feel like a very blurry situation.
It helps chip away at that feeling of overwhelm,
Hmm.
gives you a space to process, prioritize, and really define and defend those boundaries that protect your well-being.
So for you listening, maybe think about the impact of even small, consistent journaling efforts. It could really help reclaim some time and energy. And here's a thought to leave you with.
Yeah?
What's just one boundary, maybe a small one to start, that you could consciously define and then reflect on in a journal this week? Just one thing to carve out a bit more personal space.
That's a good challenge. That dedicated space for reflection, it really could be the catalyst you need for a more balanced routine.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive.